Stones, stones.
I feel like that should be the Christmas special.
We're having a Christmas special.
What's up? Is it shaky?
I'm no longer unemployed.
Anyways, guys, we're going to be talking stones today.
We're going to be making, obviously, stones today. I am making a very big terrain build for a Halloween one-shot, so it's going to be a haunted cathedral / church, whatever. I don't really know the difference. I think it's the same thing. Whatever. But it's going to be like a haunted cathedral. It's going to be great. We're going to have fun. All of our people are little players. We're all dressing up as characters from Inside Out. I'm Riley because I'm the DM. So they're all figures of my imagination. I have no real friends. Anyway, so to do that, I made the cemetery out of stone. So I thought, we're going to be doing a big video later. But first, I was like, why don't we do a little mini series about just how to make a general stone wall? So that's what this video is.
Let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is you want to look up reference photos. It's always so boring and it throws off my Pinterest algorithm, but it's important to look up reference photos so you can try and make it look as realistic as possible. If you want, you can also go on Deep Dive and watch every single YouTube stone video that's known to mankind, but this is the only stone video you'll need.
I was embarrassing.
So, the first thing we want to do, grab your reference photos. Now that you have those, you're just going to stare at them. You're going to stare at them a very long time until you've understood every single inch of them.
So I like it when I have a kind of image in my mind that I want, but I want to see a real life photo of this. So I have the stones placed kind of like bricks. So this is what I like to look at, and I like to see how concrete everything is and uniform, and then the colors as well.
If you don't have a good memory like me, just keep them up next to you on your phone, on your laptop, whatever the you have. So after looking at the reference photos, I made a plan. The plan has slightly changed since the beginning, but it did help. I just sketched out a general idea of the blueprint that I wanted, and then I figured out the measurements that I would need to cut out for each of the walls using a 1/4 inch thick foam for the walls. So using the plan, I was able to cut everything out. Like I said, things changed since I made the plan, but it did help me visualize it in the beginning, and using the reference photos helped me figure out what shapes I wanted to use. Also, guys, I'm really proud of myself because I made a curved wall, and that was really hard for me. So now that you have the stones for the wall, the next thing I did is I figured out how tall I wanted the wall to be. I don't know if you've seen it, but I tried one last building build, and that was my hellscape video. Go check it out. It took a long time. It was very big, and you know what? It was my first building build, and listen, I think it looked cool, but I think I could have done better. And so that's kind of what I wanted to do with this. I wanted to just make a better building. So one thing I did on the hellscape is I made the walls too high. Yes, it was very accurate to like an actual castle, but it was a whole mess with the magnetics of the walls and then the players like taking them down. And we just didn't end up using the walls really at all. So like I made all these walls and we just had taken them all down because they were too big. So this time I went with 2-inch tall walls, kind of like Dwarven Forge sized walls. And then that way they stay intact. I don't have to use magnets. Everybody can just see directly over the walls into the building. But anyways, so cut out your pieces of foam to that side, figure out the lengths of the walls you want, and now you're going to be working with little long pieces of foam. You should have something like this. A little bit more straight edge. This one wasn't, listen, don't look at this one, but it should look essentially like this. Cam will put another picture here. So now that you have that, you take your reference photo, you look at the stones, take a little X-Acto knife, whatever the you want, and just start drawing in stones. Put it on a nice podcast, put it on a nice TV show, spend the next couple hours of your life just drawing stones into this foam. I would suggest putting on headphones and listening to a podcast because I hate the sound that knives on foam make. So then I have these clay tools that I use, and I went back through my walls and I used this bit. You can use whatever you want. This is the one I used. This one I used to push down certain sections of the stone to try and add depth to it. Since a lot of the reference photos that I used, some stones protruded while some seemed more sunken into the wall. I only did that for a couple sections per wall. I didn't want to go overboard with that. And then the important next step that I did is I took this kind of hooked one and I just went back over every single line and stabbed into the wall. So after or before you stab them, also take like a rock or ball of tinfoil and just run it over the wall. Just stab the wall a bunch of times. Just hit the wall, the foam with the rock until it is texturized. Tinfoil gives great texture, and then you don't have to like go find a big rock. I just have the big rock that I use for these types of things, but actually sometimes tinfoil works better than that. And that way you can get really good texture as well as the depth from just stabbing. So anyways, like I was saying, yeah, I just went over every single mark that I had made with the X-Acto knife and just stabbed the foam with this. This part was a lot of fun for me. Just kind of got out some aggression, some anxiety, you know. I don't have much to say about it other than it was a little therapeutic. And maybe that's something I need to look into.
What were you mad or anxious about?
I was unemployed, but guess what? I'm not anymore. We're not going to talk about my employment anymore now that I have a job. Anyways, so after I stabbed these, I did Black Magic Crafts, Mod Podge, and Black Mixture to add some integrity to this. I added a first too thin of a paint so that when you're looking at the walls, even after everything's done, in a certain light, you can see some pink layer through. But it was too late for some of the walls. So some of the walls I fixed, and some of the walls, you just, if the light hits it in a certain way, you're going to see some pink pointing through. But honestly, okay, write this down. Everybody write this down if you are making terrain. If someone criticizes you, them, you're trying and you're actually doing it. It's like when people are like, oh, they go to an art gallery and they're like, oh, I could have done that. And it's like, then do it. And then everybody's too lazy. They're not going to do it. So you know what? At least you're doing something, okay? All these little haters behind the keyboard can go off, okay? It's called having a passion. After I did the Black Mod Podge mixture painting, it was time to go ham. Okay, so I tried my hand at painting minis, right? That didn't go well. That's fine. We can't all succeed at everything. But what I did have from that is washes. So I had these kind of watered down paints. I know you could do it with acrylic paint, okay? You just put water in it, but it wasn't turning out well for me. So I just used these washes, and that worked really well for me because it was seeping into the cracks, and it would do like a light layer, but it would still be kind of thick, and it would just move everywhere. It was great. So I used paint meant for minis. I don't know if it's meant for minis. I don't know. That's why I bought it for, but now I'm using it for this. And I did first a layer of dark gray. Then I went over with brown to kind of give it a muddy look, a weathered look. And then I went over it with a lighter gray. And then at the very last, I went over with a very, very light dry brush of white. That was able to give it a lot of texture. As I would go through each layer, I would make sure I had less and less paint on the brush as it got to a lighter amount. That way, the texture was more dry brushed and it would just really pop. I just cracked my head as I did that. That was terrifying. What did I do after that? But listen, guys, I learned to adapt. I don't even know if we need to put this in there, but I tried something and it didn't work and I adapted. Everybody give me a round of applause. But I tried putting a dry mixture of plaster and sand in the cracks and sealing it with white glue. It did not look good, guys. It looked bad. So, you know what? I adapted and I didn't do it and I left it as it was because I thought it looked great. Anyways, I had seen that trick. I might try it again at some point, but it just didn't vibe for this round and I just wanted to move on. I'm not gonna lie. So, right now, after your final touches with the paint, you could technically be done. This would be a good spot if you wanted it to be like more of a new age building, very well taken care of. I am building a haunted cathedral, so I want it to look abandoned.
So I added moss. I just super glued it right on and I just moved it in different ways. Again, using reference pictures to kind of see how natural moss grows. And then I would do it in that way as well to kind of give it a more realistic look, give my players the idea that this is an abandoned cathedral and it's not taken care of. Do not take moss from the forest or else the Lorax will haunt you. Just go to your local craft store. If you go, not sponsored, but it rhymes with pickles. Okay, it rhymes with pickles. They have a whole row of moss. If you don't want to go outside, go to your local rainforest store, Amazon, and get it delivered next day if you have Prime in the rainforest. Anyways, you can get it a lot of places. There's lots of places online. I know a lot of sellers sell moss as well, but you can just go to pretty much any craft store and they should have some. And then I would just also make sure, don't get just one color, add different depth and varieties of colors so that it looks more natural and less like you just bought one color and now we're putting it everywhere. But yeah, listen, making this wall went better than my bricks, and I am happy I made them smaller. If you guys have any tips or tricks on making stone walls, let me know. This is my first time making them, so I'd be down to try it again with different tips and tricks. But I think it went pretty well. I think they look pretty dope. I think the texture looks good. But yeah, if you guys have any tips, let me know. I think it went really well. I'm really happy with how they're turning out, and the moss is just like, if I could add moss to everything that I build, I would, but then it would just all look the same. And everybody would be like, Shaky, why do we keep adding moss to things? And it's like, maybe because it's pretty. You ever think about that? Because it's pretty. F off, Chad. That's my tumor's name. But don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps us so much. I appreciate all of you. I love stones too. But thank you so much for watching Shaky Out. I was embarrassing.